Well, good morning. Welcome to our very first session of Living in the Texas Hill Country. My name is Carly Howe. I'm the County Extension Agent in Blanco County for Agriculture and Natural Resources. And with me today, I have Liz Tidwell. And if you want to introduce yourself, you're welcome to.
First off, sorry we couldn't see y'all last week. We learned that there are some stipulations with Facebook live events. So this is our recorded version of this, but we'll be back next, if all goes according to plan, next week will be our first live
Real one.
yeah, going live. So I'm Liz Tidwell. I am a wildlife program specialist with AgriLife Extension. Um, Even though I am a wildlife person, my area of focus is small acreage properties, as well as birding. Those are kind of my two areas of focus. Did I say I was at the Uvalde Center? I forget. Did I already say that?
I don't
I don't
remember.
remember. Anyway, I am based out of Uvalde, Texas. So, by Texas standards, I'm literally just down the road from Carly. Um, but yeah, we're so excited for y'all to join us today. Carly, what are we talking about today?
We are going to talk about setting goals and managing expectations. And to some, that might sound kind of like, oh, I don't really need that. Maybe that might be a little boring. But one of the biggest questions I get is, what can I do on this land that I just purchased? Specifically in Blanco County, but most places in the Texas Hill Country are seeing a growth of subdivisions and small acreage. Maybe for Blanco County, it's definitely more like 10, 15, maybe even some 5 acre plots of land. And everybody's just so excited to get something started. Maybe they want a few goats, maybe they want a garden. And in the hill country, it's very rocky. We've got some issues with drought right now. And so just kind of knowing what to expect either before you get here or soon after you get here and before you get started with your project, it's good just to have some goals in mind. Because you can't do everything. You can try, but you can't
No.
do everything. Um, and yeah, and then like I said, also just knowing what you even can do over here. So we know that sheep and goat are kind of more on the what we raise for livestock over here. We don't see a ton of horses and things like that. And I get a lot of phone calls. Hey, where's a good property that I can put some horses? And I say, we don't have grass. So I don't know what to tell you, but
We grow rocks up here. I don't know.
grow rocks.
We don't know this grass that you speak of.
Exactly. So, yeah, just kind of knowing what to expect and figuring out what you can do.
Well, and I think that's so this is something that I talk about a lot with small acreage landowners because like Carly said, a lot of small acreage landowners are new landowners. Obviously some of y'all that are tuning in are not. And by the way, what we define as small acreage is any properties that are under 100 acres. Which is becoming a lot more common here in Texas, just because population's growing, things Carly already touched on. People are living in the city. They want their nice little weekend getaway from the hustle and bustle of the city. They want to enjoy the wildlife, their livestock, whatever. You like to have their little homesteads. But so a lot of people go from a lot of like as I like to say, you go from like this 1,000 square feet of like perfectly manicured like Bermuda grass or St. Augustine, and now all of a sudden you're like you just purchased your property, you're very excited about it, but all of a sudden you have all these different species that some of y'all may know what they are, some of y'all may just see where like that's a tree, that's bush, that's grass, there's some flowers. But outside of that, you really have no idea. And managing native range is completely different from managing that couple thousand square feet of, manicured yard. Because, 5 acres, it's not feasible to do some of the practices that you do in town. Plus, generally, if you're purchasing property out in the country, you don't want it to look like your property back at home. Maybe the immediate yard where your house is located, but again, you don't want your entire 5 acres to look like what you just left back home in your neighborhood. So,
Exactly.
yeah, so I was gonna say, Carly, I can talk for like days on this. So please, by all means, just cut me off if you have a comment, if you have anything to say, just cut me off. Say, Liz,
You're good.
I got something to say. So one thing I like to tell landowners is there's basically a three-step, say three steps, it's a cyclical process. You plan, you implement, and you manage on your property. So with planning, you simply you decide what you want to do with your property. Like Carly said, do you want to have livestock? Do you want to have wildlife? What do you want to do with your property? Do you want to have a vegetable garden? Um, and that's going to help you to decide what you're going to do with your property. Basically, it's going to help you to decide what management decisions you are going to make on your property. And this is where it's important to get to know your property in general. You know, what habitat types do you have on your property? What plants do you have on your property? Do you have invasive species on your property? That can be, I think just about everywhere has feral hogs. So that's kind of a common one. But do you have feral hogs? Do you have, invasive juniper species that you want to remove or cut back on? Do you have, maybe a predator issue on your property? What are those problems? Because then again, that's going to then influence some of the management decisions that you make on your property. So Carly, what are some of the common problems that people in the hill country might have?
Yeah, we definitely see quite a few feral hogs, and they kind of come and go depending on the rain. We've got a lot of dry creeks right now, and so when we get some rainfall, we definitely see them more. But I would say, I don't know. I mean, there's kind of a variety because, like I said, we are urbanizing, so um, we've got people with 700 acres and they may have all kinds of problems. Maybe it is predator, maybe their main problem is drought and trying to figure out, um, fencing issues and just kind of managing their grazing a little bit better. Or, the folks that have wildlife, I typically don't hear from them. They don't seem to have a lot of problems, in my opinion. Other agents might disagree with that, but yeah, I mean, over here it's usually just predators or water related
Yeah.
issues.
And unfortunately, with the water related issues, in regards to rainfall, there's not a whole lot that we can do. Unfortunately, it's kind of one of those where when we are blessed with rain, we take advantage of it. Now, I mean,
Absolutely.
there are things that you can do. There's certain species out there that are a little bit more how do I want to word this? Water hungry, I guess you could say,
Sure. Yeah, that's a
than
good way to put
others.
it.
So potentially removing some certain species on your property can help with water, a little bit of what's what I'm looking for.
Like how much water the other species are using taken away
Yes,
from your target species, so to
yes,
say.
yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Carly. But I mean, by all means, if there is some management question that you have or something that you want us to cover in living in the Texas Hill Country, by all means, put it down in the comments of this video, and we will do our best to find a speaker to come and hopefully give you some information on your question. That's sort of the whole point of this is to
Yeah.
help y'all get your questions answered. Dive a little bit deeper. I know a lot of times at programs, it's a lot of topics in a very, very short amount of time, so we can't always dive super deep and in depth with some of these things. So this is kind of your opportunity to really get into the nitty gritty in a little bit. But back to what I was saying. So planning. So after you plan, you figure out your goals, sort of your problems for your property. Then you can go and implement. So this is where you're going to figure out, if you decide you need to do a prescribed fire, that's where you're going to do prescribed fire. You're do spray herbicides. remove invasive species, all the really fun stuff. This is where you get to put your blood, sweat, and tears, probably more tears sometimes than the sweat, I think, depending on what you're doing on your property. But yeah, this is where you really, get your hands dirty. And then from there, you are monitoring. And this is sort of a simultaneous one to implementing. So this is, in my opinion, this is one of those things, monitoring is probably one of the most important things, because this is where you are going to get feedback. So when you do a prescribed fire, an herbicide treatment, even just removing invasive species manually, this is where you go in and you document, basically, is what you did. The day that you did it, what the prescription was, take pictures, say how it went. So, something like a prescribed fire, you're going to get fairly instantaneous feedback on potentially how it went. If it was patchy or whatnot, you're not going to see the results necessarily until a little bit later. But just writing down everything that happened, because this is then going to go in and help you to decide how and if you need to tweak that management plan. And basically, do you need to go back and change some of the management techniques that you're using? Maybe the herbicide that you decided to use, not the best option. So you go do a little bit of research, you figure out, oh, this herbicide might be a little bit better. You reach out to your county extension agent. They help you figure out what's better for your property. And then you just kind of start over again. Again, you manipulate your plan a little bit. You implement everything, you figure out how it went, and you go from there. And this is something that you're constantly going to be tweaking things. You're going to come up with new problems. So if you ever say that you've run out of stuff to do on your property, I have yet to have anyone say that I've run out of things to do on my property. There's always something to be done, always a new hurdle to get over. So that's kind of the basis behind it. Carly, you got anything to say?
Yeah, just while you were going through that, I was thinking I get a lot of tree questions. So we had a couple of really hard freezes in the last, I don't know, is it 5 years or so? There's been a couple freezes. And then also we've been in a major drought state for, I don't know, going on 3 years now at least. And so a lot of our trees are really showing the effects of all the stress that they've been put under for the last few years. So the biggest question I get is, all my trees just died. What happened? Is it oak wilt? Is it if it's an elm area, is there a disease with the elm trees going around? And I, of course, take that into consideration that we do have oak wilt around here. But drought stress and oak wilt present similar symptoms. But there's a lot of differences too. And so Robert Edmondson is our Texas Forest Service biologist in our area. And I call him a lot with tree questions and just kind of get his second opinion on things. He's great. But one thing he says is you have to monitor what those symptoms look like. And so similar but different, monitoring treatments that maybe you've already tried before, but also monitoring the systems. Is it really something that just happened out of the blue and you have no idea where it came from? Or has it been going on for years and you've just never looked at all the trees on your property before? So that was one thing that I was thinking about while you were going through that.
No, and that's definitely a good point. It's hard if you just purchased your property and you're still you're moving into your house, you're trying to just figure out where everything's at on your property, the quickest way to get from point A to point B on your property. And then it seems like all of a sudden your oak trees are dying or dead. But yeah, that is a great point, Carly, is just doing general everyday monitoring, driving your roads, while you're checking waters on your property or just checking the fence line. It doesn't have to be anything complicated, but just really and truly being observant of problems on your property. Because really most things don't just pop up out of nowhere. Generally, there's something going on. Sometimes it's a little bit harder to pick up on, especially if you aren't looking for it necessarily. It's like I am not a tree person. I enjoy the shade that trees provide. I can name some tree species, but it, for me, it would sometimes be hard, I think, to even, you know that there's something going on unless it was drastic. Like, oh, the oak trees, their leaves look a little bit more yellow. They're dropping leaves. They just look a little funny. But that's where, again, doing a little bit of legwork, a little bit of research, um, can help you. And I realize again, that's one of those where, you're purchasing a new property and you're expected to all of a sudden, you feel like you're expected to all of a sudden be knowledgeable about all this stuff. But it's really not. And that's where reaching out to your county extension agent can help. Reaching out to your TPWD biologist would be another one. So obviously if it's wildlife related, you can either go to county extension agent or TPWD. If it is anything with your soils, NRCS, again, your county extension agent's great. I'm trying to think of who else you could reach out to. Those are the ones that normally I hit. Is anyone else I'm missing?
Not that I can think of off the top
Okay.
of my head. I know in our area it is a little bit smaller, so we don't have as many. I mean, we probably do, but as many resources as maybe a bigger county. But yeah, I mean, first thing off the top of my head, our NRCS agent is amazing. She's really, really great at like plant
Oh,
ID
yes,
and
they're very
soil
good. Plant
information.
soils,
So
they're a great resource. And
absolutely.
I think just about every county has an NRCS
I
agent.
think so. I
And
think so.
if not, I can guarantee probably one of your like surrounding counties or your neighboring counties probably has an agent that they'd be more than happy to help you. But NRCS agents are also great for potentially financial assistance with some of the projects you might be doing on your property. I am by no means an expert on all the financial assistance they offer. So I very much recommend reaching out to them. They can help with, oh gosh, I'm probably going to put my foot in my mouth on this one. So if I'm wrong, correct me, Carly, but I know they can pretty well help with, I think, eh, like they'll do water. Obviously, soil is like their big one, like especially if you have erosion issues on your property. I think they can help with that. Um, I'm just going to stop there because
Yeah,
I'm going
I
to say
know.
something wrong.
No, you're good. I think her name's Catherine in Blanco County, but I think she does some help with or can help with like fencing if there's a major issue, maybe it is for predator control, or if you do have livestock production and you really need those cross fences to help with your grazing management plan. They can potentially help out with that. And they dig a lot of ponds too. Or sorry, they install stock tanks, uh, and can construct those and potentially financially assist with that as well.
Hmm.
And I don't want to put my foot in my mouth either, but
We need to
you have
have
to call
someone
and ask.
we need to have someone on from NRCS and they can tell us all about the different financial
Absolutely.
assistance programs that they offer before we pretend like we're NRCS agents. Um, but yeah, I think in order to find your NRCS agent in your county, I think if you generally just search like text like NRCS or just search your county, like NRCS agent blank county, I think it'll normally pretty well pop up
Yeah.
for that county. I think that one's pretty simple. I know to find your TPWD biologist. Um, if you I think it's called Find a Biologist. For TPWD, if you just do TPWD Find a Biologist, they have a whole page dedicated. You go to your county and then it'll give you all the contact information for your county biologist. And obviously for your county, obviously if you're here, you know how to find your county extension agent. But for that, you can just to find your county extension agent. I think generally you can pretty well Google just about anything nowadays and it'll pop up. But I think you can just search county extension agent um, for blank county, and it'll generally take you to that county's page where you can contact them. And I guess Carly, you can talk about a little bit of what AgriLife has to offer in regards to like what county extension agents have to offer people.
Sure. Yeah. So, in a nutshell, we are here for education. So, we are an extension of the university. That's why they call us extension. But we work really closely with our specialists like Liz and just provide, the newest and latest, greatest research. Sometimes we work with professors as well to host educational workshops. And so that's a lot of what I do personally as an agent. I try to hold either like half day or whole day workshops just over various topics. Usually the biggest questions I get are about land management. So we talk a lot about herbicides or managing naturally. Drought questions. So we'll talk about some water. We've done rainwater harvesting workshops. And I just had one with Robert Edmondson that I was talking about earlier over specifically what to look for in oak trees. Is it oak wilt or is it drought? So we answered that question, and it was a great program. But beside the point, we do mainly just kind of host workshops and result demonstrations as well. We'll partner with a host site. For example, right now I am working with a landowner who wanted to cut down some persimmon, and instead of it being a result demonstration necessarily, it's actually kind of an applied research project, which I think is super cool because I didn't get to do a whole lot of that in college. So I am all about the research side of it, and I'm excited to keep doing this project. But we cut down a number of Texas persimmon trees and sprayed half of them with a Remedy and diesel mixture and the other half with Remedy and water to see if water is just as effective as a diesel mixture. So when that project is over and we've got our results, we can host a workshop there and show hands-on what we actually did. You can see it with your own eyes on that landowner's property, what the results look like. And it's okay if it failed. That's just kind of part of the learning process of it. And then maybe we do a part two and find something else that works. But yeah, that's kind of the main hitters, what we have to offer for the community. It's just basically education. We're just here to educate. We also do offer some technical assistance. If you have, like I went on a site visit recently, a gentleman just kind of asked, what are some things that I can improve with my property? He did already have goals in mind, so that was really helpful. Sometimes it's kind of difficult for us to go and get a overview of the property and tell somebody this is what you should do, because maybe that's not what they're passionate about. So it's always good to find your passions first. Pick a couple of goals that you want to work toward, and then we can help you with the management side of it. Those services are free as well. Occasionally we do charge for programs just to, recoup some of the money from what we had to pay for maybe a meal or the venue cost or anything like that. But phone calls, emails, and site visits are always free. So that's a plus of us as well. But yeah, am I missing anything?
No, and
we do a lot.
and so I will say, so there are four, and I think Carla, I think you're a single agent county, I believe.
We do have two in Blanco County.
Okay. So do you want to talk about what the difference? So we don't have just ag and natural resource. We have four, you can have four, potentially up to four different agents in your county.
Yeah.
What are those, Carly?
Yeah, so I also have a family and community service, family and community health.
I always want to say family consumer health because I always think of family consumer
I think that's
science.
what it used to be.
I think it used to be family community. Wait,
family
consumer, yeah, family
consumer,
consumer
yeah, because
health
I
or
think it
something
used to
like
be
that.
FES, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Anyway.
I don't know when the name change happened. That was before me, but anyway, yes. So our FCH agent in Blanco County, her name is Gretchen Sanders, and she does also offer some workshops and things. One really cool thing she does is like a cooking program, and they're healthy, nutritious meals. Not healthy like we have to watch our calories and carbs, but healthy, just fresh produce, fresh ingredients. Try to limit the salt intake a little bit. So they do some education on diabetes, get your body moving, just be healthy. And she gets a lot of phone calls as well, like, "Hey, I've got a grandkid coming over and they're gluten free. Can you give me some gluten free recipes? Because I don't know what that is or what that
Oh.
means." So she's got some resources that she has available for those types of questions as well. Um,
I need to reach out to when we have programs because every now and again we have people with restrictions.
yeah, that's a good
I
point.
need to ask some FCH agents for some recipes because sometimes scouring the internet for recipes is it's not always fun to have to sift
Yeah,
through like all the really like, is this truly gluten free? Is this truly like vegetarian's kind of easy as long as there's no meat in it, it's fine.
right.
You get into like some of the like vegan or whatnot, like the really like specific ones, sometimes you ask, you're like, I don't know if
Is this truly?
is this truly vegan or truly gluten free? I think those are the ones that I majorly mainly deal with. Yeah, I never thought about that. Carly
Yeah.
taught me something today.
Yeah, that it and it's awesome. I ask her for recipes all the time, or she'll come up with something cool. She's actually on the Dinner Tonight team, which is I believe it's a statewide
I think you're correct.
program, and they kind of get to, I think they rotate, and they come up with a recipe and post it on the Dinner Tonight website, and there's a little video that goes on with it, so you're kind of cooking with them in a sense. But it'll have all the ingredients, and the macro and micronutrients are kind of calculated for you as well, so you know exactly what you're eating. And there's all kinds of recipes. They're always archived. I go on there all the time. I'm like, I need a healthy dinner tonight for my family, and I'll just go on there and find one real quick. And they're usually super simple, like 30-minute meals.
Yep.
So yeah, it's awesome.
But okay, so we have Ag and Natural Resource Agent, which is what you are. We have FCH agents.
Yes.
What's another agent that we have?
4-H agents as well. So we don't have one here in Blanco County, but all of the surrounding counties around me do. So that's kind of helpful. I get to call and ask them questions, and see kind of different things that they have going on. And so one thing that I try to do is offer clinics for our 4-H kiddos. And 4-H, by the way, if you're not familiar with it, is it's a youth program. I hope I'm explaining it correctly, but it's a youth program, and there's all different kinds of projects that the kiddos can pick from. Anything from like well, ag and FCH, of course, but most people, when I feel like when most people think of it, they think of showing livestock, and it's
Yeah.
much more than that. We do have health and nutrition programs as well. So one thing that our kids do in Blanco County is a cooking challenge. And in the fall, they'll go to our district roundup contest. And it's kind of like the show Chopped. They are given some ingredients, and they kind of have to figure out what to do with it and make a meal and present it. It's gotta look nice,
I want
and
to
things like
try
that.
it.
It's super cool. And I think, I could make myself a grilled cheese sandwich when I was a kid, but I don't know that if you
Uh,
put milk pasta, some seasonings, and, chicken spinach and cream of mushroom soup, like, to me, that's
uh,
obvious that would be some kind of creamy pasta chicken dish. But if you handed me that at 8 years old, I don't know that I would have known what to do with it at
no,
all.
no, no. I would
So
have been like, I can cook the chicken, I can cook the pasta, but I don't know which
I
one.
don't know what to do with the rest of
I don't know
this.
what to do with the soup. Um, but yeah, no, 4-H has a wide variety. I think they have one that I think they make clothes. right?
Yeah, there are some fashion design projects that they can choose from as well. Um, I don't, I know that Gretchen does some sewing. I don't know how much into like the fashion design part of it they get into. I know that Guadalupe County has an amazing Duds to Dazzle team. I don't know too much about the contest either, so I'm talking out of my realm here, but they I think they take like some scraps
Mhm.
or something, and then they make something really nice out of it. So it's kind of like recycling, and also you got the sewing component of it. And it's fun. It's super fun, and it's a contest too. So they can kind of get a competitive side of it and have some extra fun with it. Um, but yeah, so 4-H would be another sector of extension as well. And like I said, there's tons of things that each county offers. Um, and not to get too far into that, because I could go on for a whole hour just about
Uh-oh.
what 4-H is.
Mhm. Yep.
um, but another agent that a county might have is a horticulture agent, and they can focus specifically on horticulture. So maybe trees, maybe over here we have a lot of grape vineyards for our wineries. Um, any kind of like backyard gardening or just trees and plants in general. Maybe you do have a native landscape in your yard and you've got questions about that. A horticulture agent might be able to help with those types of questions as well.
Yep. But I think, and we'll bring it back just before we wrap it up. But one of the things that you had touched on was that proper, like you as an agent, you go out and do a couple of property visits every now and again, and that you just had a landowner that went out and had his goals in mind. So for anybody listening that wants to have an agent come out, what do you advise those people do in advance before the county agent comes out to basically maximize, I'll say maximize your time on the property so they can get the most help from you?
Sure. One of the biggest things that, and so forewarning, I've only been here about a year and a half, closer to 2 years. But so I am still fairly new to the area. I did grow up in East Texas, so the landscape is wildly different to me. And I learn something new every day. So I don't always know what questions to ask on the phone, before I get there. So some of it's a little bit on me too, personally, but I get some advice from other agents too, and just kind of see like how they handle certain site visits and phone calls and things like that. But one thing that I am learning that I would say is kind of going back to the observations. What is the history of your land? If you don't know, if you're brand new, that's totally fine. Happy to help. Um, but if you've been on your property for, at least a year or so, what are some of the things that you notice with each season? Um, so somebody from out of state may not understand that we do have a little bit of a fall. We don't have much of a fall, but
It's
our
like maybe like
trees do.
3 weeks, maybe if we're lucky.
But our trees do in fact change color a little bit, and
Yeah.
the leaves do drop a little bit. But yeah, so in the winter, our a lot of the oak trees do look dead, but that's just part of their natural cycle throughout the year. So just some little observations like that. What is your normal? And if something is wildly outside the normal, then of course, we're happy to help either way. Um, but just kind of having some of those observations, or if you do have uh, livestock observing, maybe you have some questions about grazing management. Think about what you're willing, what effort, or I don't want to say that, but what work you're willing or have the option to put in. So we may talk about cross fencing, like I've mentioned.
Mm.
Do you have the means to do that? Are you going to have to, and maybe these aren't things that you've thought of yet, but unfortunately, money is a concern. And so when we start mentioning some of these options of management options, it's good to maybe have money in the back of your mind. What am I able to do? And things like that. And then maybe we get connected to NRCS and see if they can help with that. But I feel like I'm rambling. Another thing.
I was gonna say that's kind of always how I feel is I'm just rambling, but yeah, I feel like that's good. Basically, like having first off, just having your goals in place, like
Yeah,
what you want to do on your property, and it helps if they're realistic for your property. Just having again I think doing a little bit of research on your property and where you're located and what is realistic for your area. But obviously, if you don't know, even just like reaching out beforehand and being like, hey, I need to learn some information about the area because you're new. I'm sure Carly or your county extension agent could direct you to resources to figure out um, a little bit of background about your property so you can make those decisions or help to shape your plan a little bit better and make a
good way to
realistic
put that.
plan. Because again, you're potentially moving into the hill country, and you may be moving in from East Texas or the Valley or Lubbock, or may just be from out of state completely. And every area is completely different. I think the biggest thing is having having some ideas.
Something, yeah.
Yeah, rather than having the agent come out and be like, well, here's my property.
Yep.
Because I mean, it's one of those things where if you don't really know where to start, that's fine. We all got to start somewhere, but having some idea of what you want to do is going to get you a little bit further down the road for that first visit than if you just have them come out and
Yeah. And I guess what I was trying to get at was the on the phone before I even come out, I like to ask, what are your goals? And if you don't know, okay, then what are your passions? And kind of more generalized, do you want to have something that can make you some side money? Do you want it to be your sole source of income? Do you want it to just be a hobby? And then the next question is, well, how much space do you have? How big is your property? How big is, maybe your property is 15 acres, but you realistically only have 5 to work with. We can talk about those things as well. And that may not be something that we know until I do go out there. Um, in terms of we have hills and we have rocks, and you unfortunately can't have a very, how do I want to word it? It's hard to grow grass on rocks, and so
Mhm.
if you're trying to graze cattle on hills with rocks, it's just not realistic.
Yeah.
And it can be doable, but we'll have to talk about how to get there, and what are some things that are going to be necessary for that.
Yes.
But yeah, goals, generalized, the hobby or not hobby, how much space do you have? And I'll ask some questions about, okay, well, what are you seeing? What's kind of your normal right now? And just kind of go from there. I think that's pretty much it whenever I do have phone calls.
And I will say one thing that Carly kind of touched on, and then I think we'll wrap it up because I think we're over like our 30 minutes, but
It's okay.
this is something that we can talk about for a long time.
Yeah.
One thing I will say is Carly did mention usable space. So one of the things that you need to think about is even if you live on 15 acres, um, how do I want to word this? If you're going to run livestock, we're going to assume best case scenario that, it's 15 acres for the hill country, relatively flat ground. You can actually grow grass. You need to make sure that you are also not including the place that your house is. So if you have 15 acres, but 1 acre of that is fenced off where your house is, where you have your vegetable garden to keep wildlife out, you don't want your livestock running around, then your property is only 14 acres of actual usable property. And then also, like Carly said, Again, if you're wanting to run livestock, but then you are on a property that, 5 acres of it is, pretty well a sheer cliff or whatever, or unusable grazing areas. Then now you're down to, what did I say, 14? So I'm making myself do the math today.
Is it 9?
I was gonna say, yeah, 9 acres.
I
So
was like 11 or 9. Which
I was
one?
gonna say, don't judge us by our math skills. So yeah, but you're right, 9 acres. So you really only have 9 acres for whatever you're wanting to do. So again, realizing what realistically you can manage on your property. But yeah, so we'll wrap it up with that. Um, I think who do we have lined up for next week?
It's going to be Dr. Megan Clayton. She is what's her actual title? Range
She's a
specialist?
she is a range specialist.
Okay,
So
yeah.
she is a plant person.
Yes.
She is a plant person. Yeah, she does a lot of herbicide work. Oddly enough, she has a background in turkey. She did her master's project on turkey.
Oh, cool. I didn't know
So
that.
yes, a lot of people don't know that. She's kind of a turkey, she's a turkey expert.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
But
good
yeah,
to know.
so we're gonna have Megan on, and what's Megan gonna talk about next week?
Um, so we kind of touched a little bit on what NRCS is this week, but she can go a little bit more in detail next week on what NRCS is. And of course, maybe in the future, I should have our NRCS person on to answer those questions a little bit more thoroughly. But Megan's just going to talk about what resources are available. So like NRCS and the biologist. Um, and then you may have heard of the Farm Service Agency or Texas Department of Agriculture. So she's going to talk a little bit about who those people are, what they can do for you, and how they can help you.
Awesome. Well, we hope to see y'all live next week. Fingers crossed. If it's not, it'll be recorded like this, and we will post it on the Facebook page, so we're able to get the technology figured out, because technology is great when it works. But I guess with that we'll wrap it up. Thank y'all for joining us for our first official week
Yes.
on living in the Texas Hill Country. So we hope y'all have an absolutely fantastic week, and we will see y'all next week, next Tuesday at 12:15. Give y'all time to go get your lunch heated up, and sit down in front of your computer, and yeah, see y'all down the road.
Yeah. Thank you, Liz.
Bye.